And I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes, but in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I could say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
On June 17, 1972, the office, hotel, and apartment complex in Washington, D.C., known as the Watergate Hotel, was broken into by 5 men in business suits and latex gloves. Security guard Frank Wills was completing his rounds when he noticed the basement door had a piece of tape over the lock. He removed the tape, but when he returned to the same spot later that night, the door was retaped. Wills's curiosity piqued and called the police around 2:30 a.m. At 3 o'clock, CIA operatives Bernard Barker, Virgilio Gonzalez, and Eugenio Martinez, along with Frank Sturgis and James W. McCord Jr., were arrested for breaking into the offices of the Democratic National Committee. The men were bugging the office with electronic listening devices and searching through files for Democratic documentation that might assist the Republicans in the upcoming presidential election. After further investigation, it became known that the men were connected to President Nixon and his committee to re-elect the president. This break-in became known as the Watergate Scandal. After the Watergate break-in, Nixon's presidency, reputation, and power were on the line. Almost immediately, Nixon and those associated with his campaign began to cover up the scandal. Documents were destroyed and lies were told in interrogations. Tapes of conversations occurring in various rooms of the White House were subpoenaed, and Nixon scrambled to keep them private. Most important of the conversations was with his counsel at the time, John Dean, on March 21, 1973. They discussed many aspects of the scandal and the subsequent cover-up. It was revealed that Nixon paid the men who committed the break-in hush money, or money blackmailing them to remain silent. It was a near certainty that Nixon faced impeachment. Therefore, he resigned on August 9, 1974.
In 1972, it is evident that strong Republican sentiment existed across America. However, in the 1976 election subsequent to the Watergate scandal, it is obvious that Republicans lost faith in their political party, which is portrayed through the more evenly divided Electoral College votes. The concept of corruption is defined by the abuse of public power, office, or resources by government officials or employees for political or personal gain by way of bribery, soliciting, extortion, nepotism, cronyism, patronage, graft, or embezzlement. Corruption threatens democracy and good governments, which undermines the legitimacy of democratic values. Everyone from legislative officials to politicians circumvent laws and regulations in order to attain riches and power. Past and present American politicians will lie, scam, bribe, and cheat to make way for personal benefit and to get ahead in the least virtuous and lawful way possible. The issue of corruption has always been a part of American government and society. The Watergate scandal has continued the American tradition of corruption in politics and the quest to win by any means necessary. Nixon is a prime example of an American politician who aimed to get ahead in their career and has not been the only official to do so. In the election of 1960, Richard Nixon ran and lost against Democrat John F. Kennedy. Controversies arose surrounding Kennedy's victory. It was suspected by Republicans that Kennedy had benefited from vote fraud in several states, especially in Texas and Illinois. This fact was crucial because if Nixon had won the votes in these 2 states, he would have won the election with a majority in the Electoral College. Nixon's campaign team urged him to ask for recounts and question the validity of Kennedy's win. However, Nixon announced in a speech 3 days later that he would let the election rest, although the results remained suspicious. In Illinois, Kennedy won by less than 9,000 votes out of almost 4.7 million casted. However, Nixon won 92 of the 101 counties of Illinois. It was suspected that Mayor Richard J. Daley held back Chicago's vote until the late morning of November 9th. Chicago's powerful Democratic organization, along with the efforts of Mayor Daley, gave Kennedy an extraordinary Cook County victory. This margin of victory was just barely enough to overcome the heavy Republican vote throughout the rest of Illinois. In Texas, Kennedy beat Nixon by a very narrow margin. Republicans argued that Mayor Lyndon Johnson and his political machine had collected votes along the Mexican border to secure Kennedy's victory. There was some evidence of vote fraud, but it was too late as the Board of Elections, who consisted of all Democrats, had already claimed Kennedy as the winner in Texas. Both Johnson and Daley have fraudulent history in their political careers.
Another example of the corruptness of American government is ad scam, a 1980 United States FBI sting operation that sought to expose state and federal executives into accepting bribes and exploiting their authority. The entire operation was taped and was eventually converted to a public corruption investigation. In this sting, FBI employees posed at Muslim sheiks and offered money to government officials in return for political favors. The operation revealed politicians like Senator Pete Williams and Congressman Frank Thompson into participating in bribery and conspiracy. Congressman John Murtha was captured on videotape saying, "I'm not interested," at this point, in direct response to an offer of $50,000 in cash. However, later in the tapes, Murtha agrees to help one of the sheiks in exchange for an investment in his district. The sting operation ended in convictions of 7 members of Congress and serves as an example of corruption in American politics.
Had the last couple of days, I've had a chance to be able to go out and talk to as many people as I possibly could about my desire to be able to appear here before the Senate trial, and have a chance to be able to tell the whole story, have every single witness I could possibly bring be able to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, present as much evidence as available to be able to have the whole story told, and have a chance to be able to show you here in the Senate, show the people of Illinois, and show anybody else who's listening that I have done absolutely nothing wrong, that I followed every law, that I never ever intended to violate any law, and that when the whole truth is heard and the whole story is told, that's ultimately what will be shown.
I have made the statement that I'm going to make on this. I don't have anything more to say about it. I stand by my comment, and what we are doing is staying on our course and not be distracted from it in this distracted mode. We're going forward in a bipartisan way for jobs, healthcare, energy for our country, and on the subject that you asked, I've made the statement that I'm going to make. I won't have anything more to say about it. I won't have anything more to say about it. Another subject?
I don't go with the idea that what brought me down was a coup, a conspiracy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I brought myself down. I gave them a sword, and they stuck it in, and they twisted it with relish. And I guess if I had been in their position, I'd have done the same thing.